Oats, peas, beans, and barley grows. Oats, peas, beans, and barley grows. Can you and I or anyone know how oats, peas, beans, and barley grows?
Bonzes we're going to be grinding up. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Okay, this is your hopper. And we're going to be putting about, let's say, a cup of garbanzo down into the hopper. So I'll take got my handy measuring cups right here. Take the beans. I'm just going to do a hand inspection to see if there's any stones in there. Yeah, they look pretty good. And we'll stick that back in our vegetable container. The only thing, I have this under here, and the grain is going to be coming out there. Someone asked me, do you get like your wrist sore or something, or? And I said, no, not really. But my back, when I get going on it, I'll stand here and I'll go two-handed on it, and I can feel it up and down my back. Right now, I'm just showing you how this works. So I won't be grinding like 6 or 7 different grains like I usually do. And now I'll show you what's in there so far. There's the coarse grain. I have it set on coarse to start with. Garbanzo beans are kind of big, and you can either do it, find out what's easier for you. You can either start out with this coarse grain and then stick it back in and grind it again and make it to a fine flour powder, which is what you really want. You don't want chunkies in your pancakes. Or you can set it on a fine grain and grind it straight from there instead of doing it two-step. And you just change your adjustment of your grain, of your grind, by moving this little handle here. See, here's your hopper. Okay, here's your wheel. Here's your hopper with your beans in it. And then over here is your adjustment. And it's just this big old wheel right here. And you move it this way, away from you, or clockwise to get a finer grind. You move it this way towards you to get a looser grind. In fact, you can get it, open it up, and all the stuff will just fall right out. And then there's your grind. Tighten it up a little bit, get a better, tighter grind. Forgot to mention, when you're grinding the grain, if you want to have, say, cracked corn or cracked beans or something, you want it to cook faster in your soups and stews, you can just get in here, crack a couple cups of them, and then have them ready to throw them in your stews, and you'll cut your cooking time down, because by cracking your bean or your grain or whatever, your corn or whatever, you've exposed more surface area, so it cooks faster, and boy, it cuts down your cooking time, especially when you get those hard corn, dry corn that you may get, and it seems like it takes forever to cook them down. Crack them in the grinder first, and it works. Cuts it down. Now the only thing they warn you about is when you get down to this stage and you're reaching the end of your hopper full, to not grind those wheels without anything in them. So you just keep a look in your hopper and see let me see if I can get this over for you. See how there's just a little bit of beans left in there, right there, very little bit. You don't want to go much past that. As soon as you stop seeing the beans coming around. Okay, that's fine right there. That's all the farther we're going to go, because I don't see any more beans shown on the auger. The auger is that screw piece in there that advances the beans over to your cutter right here. So let's make some pancakes. Okay, all clean. Little cosmetic brush is pretty darn handy. You notice when you're kind of when you're a survival person, survival woman, whatever, you have a tendency to look at things in a different way. And you look at one thing, but you find two or more uses for it. I find that happening all the time. Maybe if you think back on your survival mindedness, you might find the same thing happening with you too. And it's just really cool. Got a cup and something to mix with, a bowl big enough for a couple cups of dry ingredients. I'm just making, I'm using a flour-based Bisquick because it's quick, and I've still got to make work on the water heater today, so I don't have a lot of time. You know, with all the make-and-mix stuff you got going on, you could certainly have your flour base put together. You wouldn't need Bisquick, but I have this and I want to use it up. So I'm putting 1 cup of the Bisquick mix in, and even though the recipe calls for 2 cups, but we want this to be a multi-grain pancake, so we're going to use 1 cup of the Bisquick, and the rest of it's going to be multi-grain. But here's the secret to making it nice, light, and fluffy. Double-acting baking powder. I don't want to put too much of this in. I just want to put like maybe a teaspoon. Okay. And that's going to help the other grains we're putting in to puff up a little bit. Now we got our eggs. If you might notice that these eggs are a little unusual. Some even have writing on them. My young pullets started laying eggs. This is from this here's from Cleo, the Americana. This here's from Allie, the white leghorn. And these little green gems that came out are from my little Americana. Shoot, forgot her name. Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea. I thought it was appropriate that she actually is laying green eggs, and here her name happens to be Sweet Pea. Well, anyway, we're going to be using these eggs, but first, of course, we have to wash them off because these still have the bloom on them, which means they're straight out of the chicken. They may have a little bit of chicken poop on them, but they have like a coating on there when they first come out of the hen, and also because any germs and stuff, because your germs can be on the outside of the shell. That's where your germs are, so you want to wash that off. I do a little soap and water wash. Commercial eggs run through about, I think it's 3 washes. We're going to wash this off with soap and water. So, why do chicken eggs might have chicken poop on them? Because a chicken is set up differently from a human being, female. The orifices of a human being, female, of course, you have 3 orifices. One you pee out of, one you have your menstrual flow and your babies, and the other one is a defecation. Well, with chickens, you have 1. They have the same hole that they lay their eggs out of. They also defecate out of. They drop their feces out of. There's a little panel in there that separates inside of them that separate the eggs from the poop channels, but you can get some of the feces rubbing off on the eggs when you come out. So a good reason to wash them. And you know, some people, ooh, don't you wash your eggs before you put them in the carton? No. I always put eggs that still have the bloom straight out of the chicken in the carton, because that bloom on the egg helps to keep the egg fresher. It's like a little seal